Hi everyone, this is Jay and I'm here with Van, and today we are continuing our study of my book Start with a focus on Lesson 12. And Lesson 12 is God explains the effects of sin. God explains the effects of sin. And as we'll see, it's tempting to believe that we can rebel against God, sin against God, and there aren't effects, there aren't consequences. And yet we do things after we sin, God says things and does things, and yet there is this temptation to believe that life goes on as normal. So to begin, Van, I have a question for you. Has there been a time in your life, or would you share a story when you did something, poor decision, dishonoring to God, and yet you wanted immediately to have freedom from those consequences?
Yeah, right away I think of a time in my life where I got in big trouble. I was caught for being a part of a very serious felony, which I haven't shared in previous videos, but maybe in the future I can share my testimony a little bit more about it. But when I was 20 years old, I was arrested for driving a car that somebody in the back seat shot a gun out of and actually shot a man who had robbed us earlier that day. It was a drug deal gone bad. So fast forward to the sentencing, I'm standing before the judge and he actually sentences the man I was with and myself to 23 years in prison. He received 14 years and I received 9 years. And I, my family, my lawyers, we thought that that was incredibly unfair. We thought that maybe I would receive house arrest or a sentence to boot camp, which is a 6-month sentence. And so long story short, to answer your question more specifically, Jay, I was living a life where one, I hoped I'd never get caught, and two, if I did get caught, I hoped that there was minor consequences, and that just wasn't the case.
Van, I think that story that you shared points us in a very appropriate direction. When we sin against God, when we rebel against God, there's part of us, I think, where we hope that God won't address what we're doing, that He won't confront our sin. And yet, when our sinful condition, our sinful choices are exposed, we hope that the consequences will be minor. And yet, at the very end, I hope we come back to this truth. We will come back to this truth that in Jesus Christ we can be forgiven, but even then there are consequences to our sin. God help us.